Now the sinks. This is another one. The sinks. I did it. I did it. I said sinks. The skinks. The skinks are a completely different story here. They don't, God made them with a different, unique feature that also gives proof of God's providential care for them. Now, these guys always kind of wig me out. I don't know. I think it has to do with the stripes on this 5-lined skink. I taught them. I would play with them a little bit, but I don't know. They just remind me of a snake. And so I just never really went after these guys too much. But the skink, and again, Sarah, in all her little prying into the lesson, found out last night that the skinks have eyes that see when they're closed. Okay, so what God did is He gave them an eyelid that is a scale, but it's transparent. So they close their eyes when they're sleeping, but they can still see. And this allows them not to get caught snoozing by their enemies. This eyelid is sometimes called a spectacle. I wonder, where did we get the idea of glasses from? Did you know that some people believe that this eyelid of the little skink was one of the ideas behind the glasses? This is a movable scale, so it blinks just like our eyelids. And it goes down over and it actually dims the light coming through into the eye so that they can rest while still seeing. There's also one other thing. Did you know if a skink's eyelid gets damaged, God gave him the ability to regrow that eyelid? That little scale or spectacle that fits over his eyes, God gave him the ability to regrow it. Now, tell me that God did not provide for his creation. God said that it was good. You know, God is the great inventor. All mankind has ever done is to take something that God invented and adapt it to a different application, just like the spectacles. We put on safety glasses. I was touring the metal shop the other day, and we had to wear safety glasses. And I thought about this lesson here, and I thought about those safety glasses. They were there to protect our eyes from any shards of metal that might fly through the air. So I thought, wow, God invented safety glasses long before we did. The Mediterranean gecko. Now, I haven't seen one of these around our woods. So if you see one, I want to know. What I did find out about them is very interesting. They're rather aggressive little critters. And they don't like our skinks. And so they kind of tend to take over territories that are traditionally where skinks and fence lizards usually live. So these guys, I guess, get a little bit nasty. The boys like to fight. And so they kind of run off our native lizards. But, you know, having said all that, they're not all bad. And I mentioned earlier that they came in on some potted plants. The eggs were laid on leaves. So not all bad, but God created them with a very specific protective system. The Mediterranean gecko, they thrive. I'm going to import these. I'm going to import them for every rental house I have, I tell you. Because you know what they eat? They eat ants. They eat cockroaches. They eat, let me see, termites. I think these are one of God's greatest assets for a landlord. And I think that we need to pay maybe a little attention to these guys, but God made them with one very unique capability that other lizards that eat the same things don't have. These guys are resistant to pesticides. And to the best of my research ability, I could find no pesticides that will kill the Mediterranean gecko. So when we go in to spray a rental house when somebody's got cockroaches left over, wouldn't be killing my geckos. I could have geckos and no cockroaches. So I think that's a win-win. So God created these little fellows with something that no other lizard has the ability to resist, and that's modern day pesticides. Unlike the skinks, God created the geckos with no eyelids at all. That's why they look like they've got those big bug eyes. He created them without eyelids. But yet, their eyes don't dry out. God put that into place as well. So just a little bit of difference in God's creation. But you know, God provided for all of those little creatures. And God provides for us as well. I want you to go back while we're here in 2 Corinthians to chapter 13. 2 Corinthians chapter 13. The Apostle Paul says in verse 5, examine yourselves to see whether you are in the faith. Test yourselves, or do you not realize this about yourselves, that Jesus Christ is in you, unless indeed you fail to meet the test? I hope that I will find that we have not failed the test, but we pray to God that you may not do wrong, not that we may appear to have met the test, but that you may do what is right, though we may seem to failed. For we cannot do anything against the truth, but only for the truth. For we are glad when we are weak and you are strong. For your restoration is what we pray for. For this reason I write these things while I am away from you. When I come, I may have to be severe in my use of the authority that the Lord has given me for the building up and not for the tearing down. You know, Paul says something about that, about God's provision in that paragraph. Paul says that we can do nothing against the truth, but we can do it for the truth. When we look at God's creation, I think it's amazing to see the provision that our Creator has given us. And these little Mediterranean geckos remind us of God Himself because they don't have eyelids. Look back here at the book of Psalms, Psalm 121. Psalm 121, verse 4. Psalm 121 and in verse 4, behold, he who keeps Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is your keeper. The Lord is your shade on your right hand. The sun shall not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will keep you from all evil. He will keep your life. The Lord will keep your going out and your coming in from this time forth and forevermore. That little gecko, Mediterranean gecko, reminds me of the providence of God who is capable of keeping us despite all of the problems that may surround us. God has placed in every species of lizards something that reminds us of His providence and His care in our lives today. If you'll take out your songbook and